Welcome, everyone, to part two of episode 12 of the Umana Yana podcast. I'm your host, Josh Jaipal, and in a moment, we're going to be joined by our guest, Sabrina. We thank everyone for their patience in following up with part two of this. And I'm seeing that Sabrina is unable to join. So, Sabrina, are you able to actually hit that button at the bottom there with the video and ask to or request to join? Let's see if that actually works for us. Appreciate everyone rocking with us, even through all the technical difficulties. All right, let's see if that works to get Sabrina back in the chat. There we go. See, the medicine was so strong that the internet kicked us off. See, there we go. All right. Can you hear me well, Sabrina? Everything good?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Awesome. I think we got cut off as we were talking about the cycles that you're breaking, as a human, as a mother, as a partner, all of those things. And you were talking about your boys
Mhm.
and, how you've encouraged a lot of vulnerability and communication amongst them. Was there anything further that you wanted to add before we got cut off there? I didn't want to cut you short.
Um, I think I was just saying before we got cut off that I also try to teach them about their bodies, but also about like female bodies and like what girls, because my eldest is going through where girls are going to start having their periods and going through changes. So really just allowing him to have all his questions answered by me, preferably, not,
Mhm.
friends who are also learning.
Yeah.
And teaching him to be mature about it and to be respectful about it, not laugh and tease. A girl, she ends up getting her period at school and there's a mess or something. So um just yeah, teaching them to be good humans, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I think that's so intentional of you. And I personally never really heard about parents really making that effort, especially to educate their children who might be the opposite gender of them, say, around what the other gender experiences.
Hmm.
I've recently come across a few people who they've infused that into their parenting style, and I think it's absolutely great, right? Because where else are we going to go for these answers, right? Chances are it's going to be the internet. Then we're going to learn from it from some unsavory sources, and then we're going to have a whole skewed, idea around how to move around this topic and even the people, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's so thoughtful that you do that. And a question that I have for a lot of people that I meet who have, say like yourself, you have three boys,
Hmm.
right? I'm curious, do you imagine that you're parenting these boys differently than you would girls? And do you think that that's different because we're in 2025 now?
I would like to think that I would parent my daughter or a potential daughter the same way. I do think about that. Um, I don't know. I think I would, try to do the same and not have this, any kind of like, oh, they're boy children, I can treat them differently or raise them differently. I really believe in what I do for one child, I do for all. So I think I would have that same mentality. But it is hard. It's definitely hard.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think I would do the same if I had a daughter, teach her about what boys are going through and, the increase of testosterone and all these things that I'm seeing.
yeah,
And, if we had a daughter that their brothers are going through.
yeah. Okay, awesome. One thing that I was curious about here is what's something that you wish you knew about healing and recovery earlier?
That's a hard one. I think learning self-worth earlier, just in terms of like, I deserve things. And it's not to say that my parents ever made me feel any other way. They always would say, we're deserving of this or that. Like, they were very open about things like that, but I had a hard time accepting it. I don't know why. I was always very hard on myself, very self-critical. I still am, and I'm still learning to work through that. But as much as somebody can always say something and be positive, if you don't believe it, there's
Yeah.
like a huge difference with that. So
Mm.
I think believing that I deserve things or that I was worth getting things and worth this type of accomplishment or worth having a particular life, is has been something I wish I learned earlier.
Mm. And did you find, as you navigated that, as you were evolving as a person, did you find like was it kind of like a voice in your head kind of telling you you don't deserve that, or was it kind of like a feeling whenever you came to these moments where you might be able to experience something or anything like that, and you kind of like backed away from it? And the reason I say this is because, I've examined this with myself too. At times when I'm like, oh, Josh, no, no, that's not for you. Like you don't deserve that. And I think back to like whose voice am I hearing this in? Like, is it mine or is it somebody else's? So that's kind of where this question comes from.
I think it's just being a child and growing up, and parents are encouraging in certain ways, but then especially I think with the um I guess Caribbean or Indo-Caribbean parents, like you you want to be successful, but you don't want to be loud, or
Mm,
you don't want to be so seen or so heard. And so it was like, yes, be successful, you can be successful, you're smart, whatever, but at the same time, don't be too loud or don't be too heard. And so then as a child, and I mean, this not that I was aware of at that time,
yeah,
but learning to balance that and
yeah,
figure out when to be and when not to be and this and that. So I had to learn to be out there. Like this is something I would never do.
yeah,
This is like 1,000% stepping out of my comfort zone. But it's because I wasn't always encouraged to be so like loud and thing, but to find that balance, you didn't know how to do that.
yeah,
And I think that's where those type of feelings stem
mm,
from. You know,
yeah,
I guess it goes hand in hand also with like the idea of like when you give a child an inch, they take like a whole yard.
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
you don't know. So like I took that, or I took certain things maybe that were vocalized to me or worded in a certain way, and I applied it to a lot of other things that I didn't need to.
mm,
I think it's also just personality. Like that's my personality. That's who I am.
yeah,
As part of it too.
yeah. Syra said that she's so proud of you. She dropped that in the comments there.
Thank you,
That's
Sarah.
great. And you made a really great point, and this is something I think like happens, and like I haven't really thought too much about it too. Not so much of my family did it to me, but I would hear it kind of in passing within the family, right? Like that same thing, like, yes, go be that doctor, go be the best, this and that, but don't be too loud. That's so
Mhm.
true. And like I think that a lot of that comes from this place of fear that we haven't worked through, which is a lot of our traumas and all that kind of thing. But I guess my question that stems from that is how are you shifting that, or rather, what do you think would have been different and more impactful advice rather than don't be too loud?
I don't know if it would be advice, but like for example, I love to be a part of like dance groups in high school and stuff. And then I would say I was bad at it. And I would have like I remember having a cousin ask me to do like a little like I guess the performance I had done for school at her birthday. She had a big birthday bash. And I think I remember being told like, "Oh no, you don't want to go embarrass yourself in front of everybody and all the family."
Mm,
And I think it's things like that. Like it maybe instead of being told that I was going to be an embarrassment or embarrass myself, um, I guess being encouraged or like maybe not being told anything because I was excited to do it. I loved doing it. I had fun doing it.
yeah.
Um, might have been more helpful. And so I guess I tried to change that, that if my kids express wanting to do something, I try very hard to be mindful and say like, yes, you can, instead
Mm,
of like, I guess repeating the cycle of like, Even if
Yeah.
I do am concerned that they might, that's really putting themselves out there, you know what? Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, I think that's pushing it ahead for the lineage, right? Like, I mean, to actually give them what we thought, might have been a little bit more helpful and impactful, right? Like that's how we can see them truly living their full stuff instead of just like, yeah, let me only show parts of me when I'm here or there in this space or something like that. I think that's really, really, great and intentional of you to do that.
But I also want to like make light to the idea that I think our parents, and we don't always acknowledge this, they did the best that they can. They did things that they knew how they knew to deal with it, or how they knew to handle it, or how
Yeah.
they were raised to handle it. So to me, I don't put blame on whether it's my parents or anyone else. Like, I mean, for obvious certain reasons or certain situations, but they did what they knew was best, or they did what they felt was best, or
Mhm.
what the knowledge that they knew versus more knowledge that we have now.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Absolutely.
I don't blame my parents for maybe the type of wording that they used, because that was what they knew. And especially coming to a different country,
Yeah.
so they had to deal with a lot. I can't imagine going through what they went through and coming to a whole new country and starting over. So I think having understanding that our parents are also just living this life for the first time too, and like they're at their ages for the first time, and having that kind of um, empathy towards that, or understanding towards that, it also kind of helps. I
Yeah.
guess I don't want to heal from
Agree.
things.
Yeah.
So I don't blame my parents for anything at all. I think they did a wonderful job with what they were given, but it does impact you still.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a great acknowledgement and great shout out. I agree. I think at earlier parts of my life, I think that, you sit with a bit of that resentment and anger and like, why didn't you do this? Why'd you say it that way? All that kind of stuff. But I think as I really evolved into my 30s, I started to really peel it back and be like, well, I hear say the feedback that kids are giving their parents who are my age now. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh shoot, I probably would have done the same thing. I would have made the same mistake, and it's interesting the time that we find ourselves in now because we almost have what could be referred to as a privilege of sitting down to be like, oh hey Sabrina, how do you feel today?
Hmm.
Are you feeling good today? Okay, take a day off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are not conversations that one generation removed they felt they could have, right?
Hmm.
Or a space where they could hear that kind of thing. So, similar thing, I've kind of, in my own way, I've processed a bit of that healing and been like, okay, well, you're a human too, right? Like, at the end of the day, yeah, one hat you wear is dad or mom, right? But that's just one. You're still out here trying to figure this thing out for
Yeah,
yourself.
I have so many. Yeah, and it's like I will admit, like I get annoyed sometimes when my kids are a little too vocal and they say certain things, and it's like, why do they feel like they could speak to me like that or say things? But I
Yeah.
realized, and I have to remind myself, it's because I've created that space. I've created that environment
Mm.
for them, because there are things that they would say, and I'll be like, what the hell? I would never say that when I was growing up. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure my husband and I have both told him like we would dare not say that. Um, but we also didn't have maybe that comfort level to say that, whereas we've created that space to say, like, be vocal, talk to us, and say these things instead of holding it in.
Yeah. Totally.
So we have to
Totally.
deal with it, basically.
Well, you know what? I mean, if I were to think about them, I think that by encouraging them to communicate, at least you have a window into what's going on and what they're thinking, right? Versus them climbing up and feeling like, hey, mom or dad isn't safe. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, sounds like you've done a really, really great job.
Thank you. I try.
So we are approaching the conclusion of our chat, but I do have a few questions remaining for you, and one of them is, what is one hope that you have for the Caribbean community as we look ahead to the future that we're all building?
Um, I would say, I think I mentioned it before, just to continue healing. I really want us to find ways to break these generational, I don't like saying trauma, like it's not my favorite word or way of describing things,
Yeah,
but just breaking these ways or habits that they or their, our great grandparents or anybody had to, go through and deal with just to
Mm,
survive and break ourselves out of that survival mode. And you know, increase our mental health awareness and our wellness awareness, as a community, knowing that uh, we can heal ourselves, we can do better, we are better. I think we're such
mm,
amazing people. Very wise of me, but I think we're the best people in the world. We have such great hospitality, we have such warm people, fun, happy, and I think everybody needs to see that.
mm. Love that. Love that. And for those of us who are looking for a different way to maybe share generational cycles or trauma or generational curses, Cyrus tossed in a suggestion here for generational patterns.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because that we can kind of look at it from a perspective of this is just what is. So let's look at it versus good, bad, and things like that. So I appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you for contributing that to this conversation. Um, so Sabrina, we've really talked a lot about what makes your space different, and I think a lot of the commentary from everyone who's tuned in, they've echoed all of that, right? But one thing that I really want to ask you to really, really drive home how special your space is do you have a review, say, that's been left for you guys that really stuck out? That was like it just made you smile.
Oh, we have lots of amazing reviews. I would say two within the Caribbean West Indian community. I had a mom come in, and she has two daughters, and she had expressed that she couldn't wait to go home and tell her girls that she went to a space that was owned by an Indo-Caribbean woman, um, to show them that they can do it too. Like they
Wow.
literally can do anything they wanted, and that was not something I like. That wasn't even like a part of what I wanted to, have with this space. And be able to give. So that was really amazing. And I had I'm going to say auntie. I had an auntie come in. She saw the interview with Brown Gal Diary on my TikTok, and she was so amazing to want to come and support her community and to come in, and was just so excited to know that there was a space owned by a Caribbean person,
Mm,
well, a descendant of a Caribbean person. And that was super cool to know that our community, because I think a lot of times people say like, oh well, we don't even support our own kind and stuff like that, but I have felt nothing but love and nothing but
mm.
support, and it has been very overwhelming but amazing at the same time. And yeah, otherwise you can see our Google reviews, they're really awesome.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. This has been a really, really great chat. And, I think that it's one that's really going to be felt deep in the heart within the community. Because I feel like you're really showing up in service and you're doing it from a very open and giving space. You're clearly not out here for people to tap you on the back and say, you built a great business and you were the first and all these things. You're clearly here because you feel called to be in service and live your purpose by, helping others connect with what they need. So, Sabrina, truly, like you're a real pillar in the community. And I think that the acknowledgement you get, whether that's in comments or reviews or plaques that you have on the wall, or hugs from people who feel like family just having met you. Just thank you for showing up and choosing to be on this path. The path of entrepreneurship isn't one that's necessarily easy or clear cut, but you've done it and you've been so agile and you've really evolved and you've met the community where it needs to be met. So thank you, truly, truly.
Thank you. That was hard to say thank you to, but thank you.
You're welcome. So, for those of us, who aren't familiar yet, what are the best ways that they can connect with you, with the Health Spot? And feel free to share, handles, websites, maybe if there's any upcoming events or anything like that that you want to share, just so that people can connect and really, come in and see how great your space truly is.
So you could reach us on our socials at the Health Spot Wellness Woodbridge, or sorry, the Health Spot Woodbridge Clinic. And then on TikTok, if there's no clinic. At our website, www.thehealthspotwellness.com. You can email us at info@thehealthspotwellness.com as well. And you can call us at 905-851-0506. Those are all the different avenues we can be reached. We also have an amazing event. It's a sold out event, but we are having an event on August the 10th. It's a Sunday. We have partnered up with Umana. The owner is Priya. She's an amazing human being, and it's called The Summer She Bloomed. So I'm so excited about it. We're going to have some sound healing therapy. We have other practitioners coming in, providing little snippets of their services, and introducing the health spot as well there with this event. And just really being empowering and encouraging. I've met some amazing other practitioners. Nirmala, who is a holistic nutritionist. We're
Yeah.
looking to partner up and do some workshops in the future, so keep an eye out for things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, Sabrina, this has been great, and everyone who's tuned in, for part one and for part two, and you got lucky, you got two parts here. Thank you for sticking with us. We hope that you really found some great tidbits and, just different things, seeds that are planted so that we can really move forward and have a different future from the past that we have had, as great as that has been. So, to everyone, thank you for all of your support. We are going to be sharing these videos. That way you can check them out, share them with your community, and let us know in the comments what you loved and what you learned. All right. So until
Thanks
next
so
time,
much, Josh.
absolutely. Till next time, everyone, thank you again. Take care.